Well, more 2026 GM trucks and SUVs are still failing with the 6.2 liter. Another question I get a lot is, are the HD variants like 6.6 liter more reliable? I'm going to go through that a little bit. And also, I see some GM owners switching to Ram. That's crazy. I never thought I would see that. But first, I wanted to show you this video. This reel cracked me up because it's inside a GM dealership. Watch this. We got 1, 2, 3, and a final one there. All getting new engines. Actually saw this recently and I just had to put it at the front of the video so that everybody gets to see it. Isn't that just so appropriate? One of these old reliable GMs, it's probably got the 6 liter or the 8.1 and it's towing one of the new GMC trucks on the back. I can't remember what the problem was with this one. It's a good thing we still got reliable vehicles on the road to tow people home. All right, so let's jump into some 2026 failures just since my last video. These are like super recent, like within the last week or two. Here's another new one from the Cadillac side. On March 27th, 2026, driving on the freeway, engine started knocking loudly and completely failed. Oh, he said he even had a blown engine on his 2023 Escalade as well. Seems like the recall might need to be extended to the 2026 models. Again, brand loyalty, right? So these folks have these failed engines or failed transmissions or both, and they keep going back. Imagine you're at a restaurant and you get food poisoning. Then you come home, you got food poisoning, you're in the bathroom, praying to God, telling him you're going to go to church more, you're going to be a better person. And then a couple days later, you feel fine, right? And you tell all your friends about it. And then a couple days later, you're hungry. Do you say I'm going to go to the same restaurant, get the same entree I had a couple days ago that gave me food poisoning? No. You don't. No one does that. You never go back to the same restaurant and get that same plate of food. It takes like years for your brain to get over that. So why do people with an $80,000 or $100,000 or $150,000 vehicle go through this and then just go right back to the same food poisoning? It's mind-blowing to me. A lot of people comment to me and they say, hey man, you need to bash Ram too. Why don't you bash Ram? Because Ram doesn't have an engine recall that affects millions of vehicles and then isn't fixing the engines and then isn't putting brand new engines in trucks that are also failing again like GM. That's why I'm doing these videos about GM. So here's Ram for the people that like complain that I don't say anything about Ram. Here's the 2026 Ram, and then we'll go look at the 2026 GM, and you can see the difference. There are no engine failures reported in NHTSA. None. Zero. And when you go to the Facebook groups and everywhere else, you might find like 1 or 2 over the past couple years. 1 or 2, not like 30,000. It is wild, the difference in quality. But you can go to thecarguyonline.com. This is free. You can look at all the NHTSA traffic data here. All right, so here is the first GMC Sierra 2026 model, not 25's. Engine failure. This is on March 25th, 2026. Engine failure at 18,000 miles. Knocking noise started immediately, followed by the vehicle going into low power mode. The dealer inspected it and found the bearing went out in the engine. This one, the next one down, March 23rd, 2026. This one was actually pretty frightening, the story. He's got a 2026 Sierra 1500 Denali Ultimate that's over 100,000. And the vehicle lost propulsion, the dash went dark. He was on a highway onto a sky bridge and rolled up to the top before reaching the top of the sky bridge. So his vehicle failed in this really precarious situation. He said the vehicle wouldn't start again, needed to be towed. They concluded that his 6.2 liter V8 needed to be replaced due to crankshaft seizing. Engine had 1,861 miles on it, but it puts him in a very dangerous situation because he's got super limited space on that sky bridge with the passing traffic. Imagine how stressful that'd be. I mean, it's not just, well, my truck's under warranty, I'm going to get a new engine. It's like, think about the situation you're going to be in. Think about all the places you drive in a day or a week or a month and think, man, if any of those places seems a little weird to be caught with your engine failing, man, that's what I'm talking about. It's not just warranty replacements. And this one was on March 22nd, 2026. A 2026 Sierra AT4 1500 6.2 liter engine, catastrophic failure with 3,347 miles, code P0016. The dealer diagnosed it that he will need a brand new engine. He had purchased it 9 weeks prior. And this one just came in on March 28th. This is actually a really good story because he talks about the service advisor admitting that it's not the first 2026 that he's seen at this specific dealer. So this truck had less than 1,800 miles on it, was at a stoplight, vehicle started shaking, sounding like metal tin rattling sounds. Long story short, he goes 70 miles an hour down the road after turning it off, turning it back on, and it basically seizes up. They can't put it into neutral. They drag the entire truck onto the flatbed trailer with the tow truck driver. So then he calls the service technician and asks him what's going on. He said that, so when talking about the oil viscosity, how they raise the oil viscosity as one of the fixes, the service tech told him that this has not been working. Those trucks are having the same issue. He also said this was not the first 2026 motor that is seized in the 6.2. He had another one recently with low miles also seized. And then he was told not to worry about it. He'll get a 3-year, 100,000 mile warranty. I mean, who drives 100,000 miles in 3 years, right? And he's mad. He says the truck was $100,000. Like, yeah, I would be mad too. And they're being told the motor is on back order, no telling when he'll get his truck. Here's the brand loyalty thing. This guy has actually had good experience. He said that's his third Silverado. He's got his 2017 still going strong with 100,000 miles. You know, he's one of those brand loyal guys. They're losing their base. On March 22nd, 2026. Same thing, 2026 Yukon, engine failed mid-drive, vehicles totally stalled out on the street, total mileage was 2,900. And here's another new one on the Yukon XL side, 2026 Yukon XL, March 30th this came in, engine failed with just 3,633 miles. Now remember, if you've had a failure in any vehicle really, make sure you report it to NHTSA because that comes in through the government website, and that's really the only way these manufacturers are going to change their behavior is if they get investigated. If everybody just complains online in Facebook groups and whatever, nothing's going to change. And if people keep buying stuff, nothing's going to change. And I won't show you too many of these, but I'm starting to see this more frequently. Traded in my old Silverado on a new Ram, never looking back. So it started out when they started having transmission failures on GM's heavy duty side more frequently, and then you just started to see them blow up in the half tons as well. People were starting to move to Ram just because of the ZF transmission. Now you're talking engine and transmission trouble, so the Ram's looking pretty appealing to people. And regarding some people's question with the heavy duty side of GMs, people have been asking about the 6.6 liter, whether it's the gasser or the Duramax. Both of those have been fairly reliable when you compare them to the 6.2 liter on the half ton side. So I think if you're just looking to get a more reliable V8 and you have to stick with GM, the 6.6 is probably a decent engine. I haven't seen a ton of issues on it. You just don't see a lot of problems coming in through NHTSA, at least on the 25s and 26s. And yeah, beyond even just the 2026 is still failing, which is terrible in and of itself. A lot of people get these second, third engines, they still fail. This guy had 40,000 miles on his. It's obviously not a 2026, 6.2 liter, loaded up that Denali on the flatbed. And this is a good example of why I say don't buy these used. I see a lot of folks assuming that like if it has a certain amount of miles, it's maybe safe. I just don't think that's true. This guy said the engine went out at 123,000 miles. They replaced the engine under warranty, but now that engine went out less than 2 weeks in. So it took them 2 months to get that first engine done, and now we hear that a lot of them are on back order. But you just like you can't trust the replacements. That's my problem with the 6.2. And the HD models, even if the engines are good, it seems like these transmission valve bodies, transmissions themselves are just so expensive when they go out. Jason Samko talked about this, how he doesn't want to own a truck out of warranty anymore because he doesn't repair his own trucks. He's just too busy. So he'd rather have a brand new truck under warranty than a used one. It's like you almost have to go back to older vehicles that are cheaper to repair. You have to know how to repair them yourself, or maybe have a buddy or a good mechanic that'll do it for a good price. So this is a 2020 2500 Duramax with 65,000 miles, had catastrophic failure. They're quoting him $10,000 for a new transmission in a vehicle that is, you know, a 2500 Duramax with 65,000 miles. Thing's worth a lot of money, but now he's got to fight just to get GM to cover this thing that should be covered. And here's another one on April 1st. Holly Sue Robinson, she says, uneducated but trying to learn female here. She's got this 2020 Yukon 6.2. They said it had a wiring short, flooded cylinder 7, and bent the rods and damaged the lifters. So again, if you don't have the crankshaft problem and you don't have transmission problems, you're probably going to have lifter failures. Wow, bonus. Again, do you go back to the same restaurant that gave you food poisoning twice? No. Stop going back. And for those that think that these manufacturers care about you, here's how much they care about you. This is coming in from gmtrucks.com. Zane published this article. He said, GM wants you to know, they want you to stop panicking about the ticking noise coming from your V8 engine. So apparently there's a lot of people going into dealerships and saying, hey, it sounds like a typewriter. It's like metal noise. GM says that's totally normal in a recent bulletin. They said it's called cold soak, and your engine's going to make this ticking noise, kind of a metallic ticking noise on startup for about 10 minutes. So what does that remind you of? Remember the days when they said that piston slap was normal? Well, at least back then, with the piston slap in the 5.3s, at least they lasted like 200,000 or 300,000 miles. They'd knock like crazy. So GM's official fix is to do nothing, like everything else. I know I make a lot of jokes on these videos and tell people like brand loyalty's nonsense. Look, I've had a ton of GMs. My family's had them. I used to really like GM. I think it's sad how far their V8's gone from being super reliable engines to what they are today. I'm hopeful that the 2027, 2028 model engines will be better. My next video, I'm going to talk about that and go through the DFM changes. I think it's terrible that they put DFM in any of these engines, but Ford's got it, Ram's got it, GM's got it. So now we can only hope that it's going to be better. Some of the insight in my new video might give some people some hope. That's another reason I think you should just hold off if you're in the market for a GM. If I was going to buy a V8 GM, I would not buy any of the V8s I see right now. I would wait till these new ones come out. I have some stuff to say about the new rocker design in the DFM. I think it's going to be a better option than what we see now. Thanks for watching. Till next time.